Shirley here with Sirius Talis Moon. This is Venus hour, and it is Jupiter night. So Jupiter and the Moon are 22ing. Nice reception between them. Jupiter in Cancer, Moon in Sagittarius. Ascendant 15 degrees Gemini, ruled by Mercury at 17 degrees Libra. Venus is 11 degrees Virgo, ruled by that Mercury, who is ruled by Venus. Again, nice reception. And 27 degrees Aquarius, so midheaven, so ruled by 27 degrees Saturn. So, a couple of things. First of all, something interesting that happened to me. I tried my silver trick, and it was a ring with a peridot stone and silver ring, peridot stone, and zircons. Very beautiful. Got an amazing price. That I think there are nice prices out for the silver. So that might be good for people wherever you buy. And the raison d'etat for those who didn't watch the previous video was, if the metals are in the hands of the people more so than in the hands of the bank, any currency, digital or not, that will be closer to the metals, and I know there are some plans to readjust or rebase the currency on gold. So if that happens, holding the metals by the hands of the people prevents inflation. There was this lovely, on my Facebook I posted the lovely YouTube video that discusses the Spain story and how it basically reduced the currency level by having a lot of silver, and basically then the silver value depletes, and then we have inflation because you need more coins to buy food. China did that on purpose and created a breaking of the market and dominance of the global market with its products, but at the cost of labor rights, relying on export. Eventually, now I think China is seeing the result of that, both the good and the bad and the challenging. Now, my ring, not a pedo ring, not a human trafficking ring, went missing. And that's not surprising because peridot is a sun. And it might be at the home, it might be at the shower. uh, and it was fitting my smallest, my pinky finger, which would associate with Mercury. So for me that worked fine. And Mercury is in Libra with Venus in Virgo. Um, but the thing is that Mercury is ruling over Ketu, um, and peridot is a sun-related stone. Ring is Saturn, silver is Moon, and the Moon is ruling over 22 Jupiter. So I guess that was too much Saturn signification, and it went missing. The Sun is separating from an opposition to Neptune, and Neptune is something going missing. Saturn is ring, and then I said I'm not gonna give up. I did a horary chart. I might share it later, so anybody that wants to look at the horary. But the thing is, I don't know what to give you in return if you help me find the ring. Because I can't commit to do a reading, um, and that would have to be maybe exercise for people. But it's like, I would have preferred that if I could actually have find them missing and people actually having dividends. So I don't share the chart right now. But the thing is that I asked my mama, I said, okay, I'm gonna take the same money I spent over that ring and I'm gonna buy something because there are discounts anyway. If I find the ring, I have two of these. Um, if not, then not. Then I found a lovely bracelet, not really expensive. I think it was 200 shekels, which is instead of like 600 shekels, which is somewhere around with a dollar, probably a little more than $50. Really not expensive. I mean, an astrology course costs smallest astrology course would cost probably 3 times as much if you buy it from an American, and if you buy it from people like Aladdin and Sheva, they would have even more discounts, all the way to $15 um, for the prediction videos and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a video like Saturn in Aries can be a great purchase. I'm currently working on what currency, what credit to use for international purchases. Um, but as you see, very very approachable. It's silver and opal, probably more lab refined opal. But that was a bracelet that was on my hand, still accentuating on that Mercury. Um, but it's not a ring, so it's less accentuation on the Saturn. Opalite, I really don't know what is it connected with. I think it's more like a water mooney stone, which is what I aimed at the beginning. And it was covered with rose gold, I kid you not. So I think that this one has better chance to remain. And if I find the ring, it will be lovely. But I like the idea of actually having a savings in a way that both as an Aries second house, so many attempts to attack me, folk, and there really is no point to try to stab my clit or anything like that. This is, this, I mean, astral is weird. When you do astrology, oh, and the funny thing is, I protected myself. I protected myself, and then I got the energy to go and get and buy that ring. Um, Taking action to protect myself and from dumbfuckery. And here's something I want to talk about, and that is very simple. For those who try to do voodoo, a lot of people have people try to do voodoo on them. It's very simple. You don't target any known person, you just target the original sender, whoever sent you the energy. You can grab yourself a potato or whatnot and a needle or something, and then you just stamp them back. I'm always in favor of like blessing an enemy and stuff like that. Um, Really, it took me a long time to respond to these things, but when it came to people actually doing like astral stuff or trying to rape or to do genitalia mutilation, then this shit need to be gone. And everybody has the right to protect themselves from dark magic. And as usual, okay, contact the police. You tell them that you're dealing with that thing. You ask them what's their suggestion, what are they to do, so that it stops. We're not doing anything illegal here, okay? If the police can't do anything, and you publicly ask for how to do a magic that will make their witchcraft stop. Again, you inform the police, we're not doing anything illegal here, and that's what I did. Okay, we're not practicing witchcraft here, we're not practicing dark occult, we're not doing any dumb fuckery, but for those that practice the personality cult, you have the legal right to defend yourself by any means necessary. Again, if it got into the way where people try to do like astral rapes and stuff, or stabbing and stuff, or whatever, then they need to know you're gonna defend yourself. Because, and it's gonna be really messy to mess with a targeted individual. Now, here's what they don't like: they don't like people actually having good spending of their good investment of their resources. They target the people that have the better choices and try to get them to be homeless so that they can talk about the choices of the homeless and then put them in a concentration camp. There was even a suggestion to have a lethal injection for all the homeless people, which, as I predicted, brought the conversation. Now with Uranus 1 degree, when Jupiter was there, we were considering basically assisted death, execution, and that exposes a lot of dumbfuckery because execution was not done in an ethical manner. Granted, it hurt people. You know, everybody has the right to protect themselves. Um, if someone is a felon that does dark rituals even from jail, then there's a right to execute them, but doesn't have to be anything that is not actually humane, because it's not like we need to punish that person. That person was created with a lot of torture. In fact, tackling an MK Ultra and an MK often can reduce a lot of the harm, because all these people in jail are the ones that didn't have the money to bail out. So now let's talk a little bit about currency. Um, every once in a while, got a lovely sovereign throne. I was going for the sovereign coin, sovereign throne, and eventually it worked on my credit, and I had an out of bank credit, and now I need to reload that, but I'm not really sure if I like the concept that when I don't load my credit, because I don't want it to get stolen or anything, um, then it becomes impossible to load it. I guess it's to prevent stealing, but I don't even know what would be the point in that. So, as usual, I take my time. But for the first purchase, I bought that Sovereign Throne. Um, and every once in a while, it's like a talisman that um, asks me to pop up and say something. Now that's the third decan of Taurus. So I've been tending to it a lot when it comes to the gloved hand, and those that work malefically under the gloved hand get caught red-handed. There's actually two talismans by Austin Kopuk, for Sphere and Sundry. One had to do with a lot of currency, but also kind of taking command. And as usual, it takes a lot of time because it's Saturn ruled, and a lot of dedication to think about what we're doing, why we're doing that. And there were a lot of attempts to make me to go into. There were attempts to get me to be a dominatrix, which is like both not my kink, and and expose me to the fact that people read my moon nakshatra, which is associated with Ashmedai, as a dominatrix. Well, no, Ashmedai is a lot of things about Ashmedai, but I actually ran into the word Ashmedai today, and Ashmedai was basically destroying those who came with something that's not love. So think about the sorry people that try to get people that are absolutely not on a dominatrix vibe to be a dominatrix. Try to give commands to people, and I'm like, no. Only command I would give is to stop at MK often, to stop at targeting individuals, to stop harming, to stop being Nazi, you know? That's a command. So when it comes to the third, and I really don't know how they got to that point, but those attempts to traffic women, and I went all the way to doing the Bilderberg and Belsen chart. Really, really appreciate Annika Lucas. Shout out to Arnhem. People in Arnhem probably dealing with a lot of stuff. But it's basically a Chiron wound that they have on that deacon. So every once in a while, that talisman asks to pop um, and ask me to learn something more about currency. Now that there are currency wars, and you know, when it gives good ideas, then I'm receptive. And now I want to talk about the high frequency and the lower frequency of the third decan of Capricorn, the third decan of Taurus, and the third decan of Virgo. First of all, for the lower frequency of the third decan of Capricorn, I ran into that astral rape, driving people out of the places where they live in, where when they still pay the rent and just protect themselves from human trafficking, but also banishing any situation where we invest in traffickers, which is good. This is good frequency. Exposing a lot of dumb fuckery, okay? Pet sacrifices, killing dogs to hijack land confiscation, and so on and so forth. And again, that's probably not going to be distributed to the people if everybody has to be an informant. You know, in Soviet Russia, everybody had to be a spy, but everybody could say this is a spy. That was the deal. From what I see, they want everybody to be informant, and I'm like, no, it's the age of air. Information is transparent, but sovereignty is highly important. So the lower frequency of the third decan of Capricorn is to just be power hungry. It actually got me listening to Annika Lucas a lot more, and she talks a lot about this illusion of power, the approximations of power. These people were torturing infants, bloodletting, and no, those are not blood libels. Those are people activating the lower astral to base their wealth on the lower astral, which is the basis of destruction. And also, if you understand Baphomet, it's about enlightenment. And when people wake up, then they don't work lower astral anymore. The whole point about waking up is transmuting the lower astral. Some people do binding, some people do banishing. It's not about spreading destruction, and it's also not about doing the worst of worst and the best of best, because by that, how should I say that? If you try to do the worst of worst and at the same time do the best of best, you're doing the worst of worst is getting in the way of your enjoying life. I'm not saying the best of best. I know my Dutchies. They don't understand utopia. That exactly. They would say utopia. No, just living a good life. When you're doing the worst of worst and best of best, it bothers you with living a good life. Now, here's the thing. Doing good is not about a halo of appreciation. It's about feeling good. It's basically understanding that your wealth is about having a good life, is about enjoying the moment, is about enjoying life. Um, it's about being able to have time, Saturn, for the things that you actually want to do. It's about not having your job draining you, and definitely not being addicted, God forbid, to torture people, which drains on the energy, because those people are going to want the energy back, plus their energy is going to work against the one who took the energy, because that's the way of energy. There's something I discovered after I went through this horrid torture, um, and to take ideas from me that I gave away anyway. That was like, I was like, hey, turning to a billionaire that asked about, and I'm like, hey, why won't you take this idea, put that idea, bring them together? It's like, oh, they're doing that. I'm like, oh, fantastic. No need to take my creative energy to do that. I already gave that connection of that idea, and the only thing that happened, and I already said the many things that I said, like whether it's connecting with one's inner child, whether it's keep the money, drop the code, whether it's they're gonna change the currency, whether it's all of these things. So they were really unnecessary to do that horrid ritual. What happened was that a lady divorced, and she was paid a lot of money to raise a child of 14 of them. The Mormons were exposed for human trafficking, and so was Opus Dei, all the way to the Vatican. So essentially, the energy did what it was going to do anyway without the weird ritual. And the attempts to intercept and intervene caused that to be megalithic. So, the good vibration about the third decan of Capricorn. That's a decan when one can have a contemplation, meditation, understanding currency, understanding what actually runs the world, and what is real power, not approximations of power. Real power is not in perpetuating the lower astral. We cannot understand joy of living without understanding being in our power, standing in our power, without understanding sexual sovereignty, practicing weird things on people's sexual energy is not going to do the deed when it comes to standing one power. What it's going to do is a slippery slope of people going all the way to what people consider the blood libel, and that's highly addictive. And no, it's not a new money problem, it's actually a ritual problem. And Saturn rules rituals. The high vibration of the third decan of Capricorn is that one can actually contemplate, not be, blindsided by having the access to those places where the decisions are made, not being in a place where they're losing their sovereignty to a personality cult, not being blindsided by the fact that those who worked on the lower astrals were considered the no names of wealth. The Tao that you can name is not the Tao. The old money, we don't hear about them. It's not that they move in silence, it's that they're busy living their lives, and there are a lot of people that made money not necessarily by corruption that none of us knows about. Actually, I honor Lada Duncheva for reminding us that. She said, I know a lot of people that made money not by doing corrupt things. And when people look at all that is visible, they're like, how is that even possible? Well, when you understand what is those weird lower astral rituals that are prompting addictions, you understand that the wealth must lie elsewhere. And you understand that there are probably plenty of people who get that, and they're not on camera because either they're isolated or, to begin with, they're simply elsewhere. And the ones that are actually making it are probably not trafficking people, probably not on extortion cults or running extortion cults, and probably not getting into situations. Now, it's not the fault of people who got into situations that they got into situations. This is why I say, listen to Annika Lucas, listen to Alandra. There are a lot of people opening the door to exit violence. It's being done. The doors of the ghettos are being opened. A lot of people, including myself, I have family in Masons, and I risked my life telling people before Pluto ingressed to Aquarius, get out of the lodges 1919. So the high frequency of the last decan of Capricorn is the time to contemplate, to take the time to consider, to contemplate, to make the moves. To defend oneself from witchcraft rather than perpetuating harm. Now, it works well in trine with the last decan of Taurus. Now, here's where the last decan of Taurus gets problematic. It's a decan of the balance of spirit and matter. The lower vibration is a courtesan-cartisan division, rape, fragmentation, gaslighting, disbelief, psychosis, psychic attacks, bodies, dead bodies upon dead bodies, alcohol addictions, basically the notation of losing one's head. The high frequency of, and it's also connected with currency. Every time Uranus strikes the third decan of Capricorn, where Beta Persei is, it's a currency war again. Now, what is the high vibration of that decan? Protection of sexual sovereignty. Willing consent is important. That's how it doesn't get yeasty. That's how the Kundalini rises and one is connected to their own ability to generate wealth that is in line with well-being, with love, with sensuality, with joy of living, spirit and matter. The lower vibration, everybody knows the lower vibration. It's basically trying to traffic people. The higher vibration, believing Beta Persei, protection from psychic attacks, understanding that not only that she didn't want it, sexual sovereignty is important, violating that harms not only the victim but the perpetrator, because they invoke on themselves the lower astral. The high frequency of the third decan of Taurus is basically what people call redemption. And I use it colloquially. It's protection from all that dumb fuckery. Is a balance of spirit and matter, is cohesion between those fragmented parts of self. And it's understanding that the value of assets needs to be supported by and supporting sexual sovereignty, not sexual violation. That sexual sovereignty is vehicle for wealth and trying to defame, dethrone, to fragment, to humble, to humiliate the feminine results in dead bodies upon dead bodies of offenders. It's also understanding that those supposed psychiatric conditions are solved with granting sexual sovereignty. Otherwise, it's really putting people into the psychic ward to be tortured until they assassinate the person that put them there. Okay, it's the intelligence associated with sexual sovereignty. I prevented an assassination attempt because a survivor of ritual abuse was put in the psychic ward for healing and saying a name. Now, in previous testimonies, he said that name was also abused, and as if the ritual is physical, he also had to abuse a child, and he wanted out of that cult. Then, only then, they stopped torturing him, and I explained that people, when they heal, they start saying names. And I said we need to talk about the structure and that the fact that it's a part of wealth consolidation. So listen to Annika Lucas. Then they stopped torturing him, started giving him actual help, which was not the antipsychotics that doesn't do anything but perpetuate trauma until a person would become violent because the body reacts in a shock to take that toxin out of the body to save itself. They still talk, they still expose things. That's the high frequency of beta per se. Now let's talk about the frequencies of the third decan of Virgo. And that's the Big Bear decan. That's the Alkaid decan. The Alkaid decan, the low frequency is destroying cities, trying to make people sick, bring in misfortune, thievery. The high frequency, first of all, is destroying the right cities, where a woman could not live safe and free. Misfortune upon the people who brought misfortune intentionally, then the misfortune is on them, not upon the people that they targeted. And that's kind of a middle frequency. The high frequency is the protection of the big bear in time of grief, so to prevent destruction of cities, but that can only be done if sexual sovereignty is being respected in spirit and in matter. And it's also protection from assassination. And again, only if sexual sovereignty is being respected. And that works well with the third decan of Capricorn, which is currency. The rituals around the currency, if they are about the lower astral, then people will stop believing in that currency and will only transmute it to higher frequency. Which is what happens in currency wars. the attempts to confiscate assets can only be protected by maintaining sexual sovereignty and supporting the sexual sovereignty of people. And protection of those who travel, protection from assassination, are actually tapped accidentally to the high frequency of this grand trine. It took time, Saturn, but that's basically what it's doing. I was able to prevent political assassination attempt that was a surefire attempt to succeed. Same profiling, they love to have the same nationality. Yitzhak Rabin, same nationality. Pim Fortuyn, Fort Wayne, same nationality. JFK, I believe, also same nationality. Charlie Kirk, I haven't followed. Donald Trump, if they'll get him, they'll try to get him with someone with the same nationality. And from the same village. Not only that, survivor of ritual abuse. It was milliseconds from an actual gunshot, and we know the police fought like the Nile. We saw them doing that in the past. It was stopped by believing the person that talked about the testimony, recalling the testimonies that that person didn't remember, understanding that the person that would be targeted also went through that dumb fuckery but can't say it. Mitigating, explaining how things work, reminding that psychiatric treatment is housing first and believing the patient, and allowing them to heal. And I was just more focused on, there was a person that was being tortured at a hospital for trying to recover, and of course people need to take the anger out, and saying names is a part of the recovery. And I tried to pinpoint at the bigger structure, and that person needed money for housing. So I recall that this housing first is important. Before I knew it, I prevented an assassination attempt. And as they began to target me, I responded. Then I get information about money, the currency wars, and to go buy some silver. And I have to protect my good choices that lead to prosperity, in the face of the lower astral. And the funny thing is, actually, it was something to do with the academic institution, because they were trying to academically advocate for sex trafficking ring as curation for post-trauma. Then I exposed the verdicts that were in one university, Haifa University, and I exposed what I've been through with the dark occult that is very much like the Epstein. Then I see 444. I said, what is it? No foundation. Archangel Gabriel. And I'm like, well, I don't know, but let's look at it. Archangel Gabriel doesn't bring, it's not someone you summon. It's someone that arrives. And it has arrived when a certain fate has already been done, of a certain karma, of a certain trajectory. It was 444 as I was writing what happened in academia, and that the right compensation for that would be all the assets that were made upon all the ladies, all the children who suffered, confiscated from those who made those by human trafficking ring, and distributed to the survivors. And I was targeting the institutions it took place in. That took time. That's why I didn't litigate in 2017, because there was an occult, dark occult practice. I'm not against occult, but there's difference between Nazi occultism and occult that is actually in benefit of humanity. That discernment is very important. And when it was time, that Archangel Michael came 444. Fate has been decided, justice is being served, the world is changing. It took a decade. Now, when you ask for Christ to do something about the Mormons, and the answer is, and to do something about the Inquisition, the answers begin to arise. And again, people can transmute the lower astral. In fact, the more people are doing that, the more accessible it becomes for more people. And the only way people can prevent the confiscation of wealth from private hands, and there was a discussion about private equity. It's not the private equity. It's the rituals that based on the lower astral. It's not communism or capitalism. It's a community that has a place for sovereignty and the value of sexual sovereignty. Now I've been working with my Beta Per Se talisman together with another talisman that has to do with Archangel Michael, actually. Let's just say it's not a good idea to target individuals. And I'm not talking about the people that got homeless, kidnapped, addicted to drugs by force. Talking about the world consolidation.